Hey, it's your boy Alex G, and this has been a long day of travel for me. Um, I'm in Selma right now because my wife's oldest aunt passed away, and my Aunt Maddie, and we're here for her memorial service. But we flew out of Madison at 5 o'clock this morning, flew through Chicago, flew to Atlanta, and then I drove 3 hours to Selma. I like to wear my Alpha Perry right there when I'm flying through Atlanta because you know the Alphas run Atlanta. That's not true. The Alphas run the world. But here, I'm here in Selma, and a couple thoughts. One is, I didn't realize this, but after watching the movie Selma, we were driving home. I took my mother-in-law to see it with us. This was a few years ago, of course. She told me how when she was a girl who grew up in Selma, she snuck out the window of her home because she was told by her mom, do not go to that bridge. She said that she was going to visit her Aunt Maddie, and she and her younger sister, Ida, went to Aunt Maddie's house. Aunt Maddie was a little older and married at the time, so that they could sneak out of Maddie's house and do part of the march with Dr. King and the other protesters as they marched down that historic trail from the Edmund Pettus Bridge from Selma to Montgomery. And so whenever I come back to Selma, I like to tell my in-laws, do you understand how historic this place is? And so I love driving down Highway 880. I love going to the Edmund Pettus Bridge. A special shout out to the African-American women from Alabama. Driving around today, I saw the Roy Moore signs. Yeah, to that I just say hashtag no more, hashtag not anymore. But what's interesting is, it was here in Selma where black people, along with non-blacks, who marched to bring about voting rights. And sisters, you turned out and you showed the power that we have in the ballot. And so thank you, African-American sisters, women, moms, sisters, daughters, aunts, who came out, who voted, who just reminded us what democracy looks like. And it's not even just about parties, just all of the swirling scandal around child abuse. We just don't need someone who's comfortable with that in power. But so it just seems historic that a place where the voting rights that were granted to us in the 1860s were reestablished in the 1960s, 100 years later. But this week, black women in Alabama came out to vote. And so, listen, sisters, brothers all across this country, let's vote, let's vote, let's vote. Let's do more than just talk about what's wrong in the world, let's vote. So as I think about my Aunt Maddie and the memorial service, I realize that she's one of those matriarchs who was down here in meetings, saw Dr. King, Reverend Abernathy, Miss Coretta, saw those people out up close. And it was folks of Alabama who did things around the bus boycott and the march on Edmund Pettus Bridge, the march to Montgomery. And I feel the history that's here. But it was very interesting to get off of that civil rights trail and see a huge, well, maybe not so huge, Roy Moore sign. They just aren't conceding. They're not taking that stuff down. So I'll be talking with you some more, but I always get warm feelings while I'm down here in Alabama. My wife was born here in Alabama. She grew up in Chicago. But we come back from time to time for reunions and for memorial services. So as I get other thoughts, I'll be bringing them up. But I'm thinking a lot about all of the people in this area who risked their lives so that I could vote, and so that you could vote, and so that we could work together to vote to make America what it can be. All right, have a good evening.